The truth sets you free. With the world's fastest reader, Howard HBerg.
Hey everyone, HBerg. Welcome to another show, The Truth Sets You Free. First, I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsor, Dr. Sugg at the Wheatland Dental Center. Dr. Sugg can be reached at 972-22-SMILE. I can't recommend them highly enough. Dr. Sugg literally works 14 hours a day, 6 days a week for 30 years. I mean, you cannot find someone with better experience in dentistry. I recently got diagnosed with sleep apnea, and he had a way to fix it without surgery. That's done wonders for me. So if you've got any issues with that, I mean, the NFL Players Association has recommended Dr. Sugg. Here's one of his clients, Eric Dickinson. I know he works with a lot of the Dallas Cowboys and a lot of the other pro football players around the country. They literally travel to his center to get treated. And you living here, it's easy to do. So give him a call and you'll be amazed with your results. Well, today I wanted to give you a special learning tip. One of the things that I often hear is, it's so hard to remember anything. How do I know what to do? I've shown you there's 5 things to learn. The new words, the names, any number, date, statistic, and formula. The 5 main ideas in each section and subsection of a book, and the questions and their answers. What I'd like to show you today is how to remember what you're finding, and it's really simple. I like to use a 4x6 or a 3x5 card. So on one side, I write the word. So let's say I'm studying biology. On one side, I'd say Agileus phoenicius. The other side would say red-winged blackbird. Let's say I'm studying chemistry. One side says zinc. The other says 65.37. It's atomic weight. I'm learning a language, Spanish. One side says hello. The other side says hola. So you have the cards with your subject, and what you do is you shuffle them. So they're in a random order. Otherwise, you'll learn the order of the cards and not the cards themselves. Pick your first card. It says, hello. What does it mean? Hola. What if you get it wrong? Here's where the secret sauce comes in. One of the secrets to learning is repetition. And another secret is, if you use more of your brain and more of your senses to stimulate your brain, doesn't it make sense you'd learn and use information faster and better? So we're going to take the word we got wrong and write it out on a pad 25 times while saying it aloud. So for Spanish, hola means hello. Hola means hello. I'm learning biology. Agileus phoenicius, red-winged blackbird. Agileus phoenicius, red-winged blackbird. I'm learning chemistry. Zinc, 65.37. Now you take the cards you got incorrect, shuffle them and do them again until you get every card right. Now, every day, add the new information for the subject. But here's the secret. Once a week, take all of the cards from the very beginning and do them on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So what you learned 7 or 8 weeks ago is fresh in your mind. So when you go to take an exam or you have an important business project, you don't try to learn it the night before. You've been doing it all along. Now, you may have a big pile, but the only card that'll take any time are the ones you forgot. And that's what learning is. It's finding what's important, targeting it, and focusing on what you need to know and not a lot of things that are irrelevant. You follow the strategy I just gave you, your kids will get higher grades, you'll be able to process information at work a lot faster, and for those seniors out there, this will help you stay mentally fit as you get older. And speaking of mentally fit, we have a very special guest today, Charles Pullian from Life School, and Charles has agreed to tell you a little about it. It's a fantastic program. I want to ask him a few questions about the program and get you familiar. This is a program that's in the DFW area, but you have a number of different locations. Isn't that true?
And that is correct. We have 7 locations and 9 schools on those locations, which include 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 5 elementary schools in our system.
Excellent. Now, I understand what you have is a charter school.
Yes.
What is a charter school?
Well, that's an interesting question that we get a lot. Ultimately, a charter school is a private or is a public school, not a private school. And so we're held basically to some of the same accountabilities that many of the traditional ISDs are in the state of Texas. The difference would be that we're held to a little bit of a higher accountability. And the reason for that or the way that that is true, is that if we're not financially sound, if we're not academically sound, well, then we can get what's called a strike. And once you get 3 of those strikes, you can be shut down as an operation, which is very difficult for a traditional school.
Right. Well, I mentioned to you before we started, I taught for 10 years in New York. 2% graduated.
Wow.
And they did shut the school down after I left. Not because I left, but
Yes.
because the school was not functioning as a school. And it was a shame to me that a program that was doing so little for kids was there in the first place. I'm pleased to know there are alternatives.
Yes.
How are the schools funded?
Well, we're funded primarily from the state and federal government, but also as a nonprofit entity, we can accept donations, and there's philanthropic giving and grants and foundations and that sort of thing as well.
Tax deductible.
Absolutely, 100% tax
Excellent,
deductible.
excellent. Does that mean that parents can enroll students in your school and they don't have to pay tuition, or is there a tuition?
That is correct. There is no tuition for our school. It's absolutely free to the parent and to the student, and it, again, is funded by the federal and state government.
This gives them an option if their child's going to a public school, and we know today there's a lot of problems in public school. I used to own a homeschool, an online homeschool, and the parents said the thing their kid was missing, they weren't getting exposed to drugs and beatings from beatdowns from the gang members. That's what they were missing.
Right.
So this is again an environment that's safe.
Yes.
And dedicated to the child.
Yes, that is absolutely true, and it is an option. Now, we don't want to give the opinion or make people believe that we don't believe in the current educational system in the United States, because it's still the premier educational system in the world. But what we want to do in charter schools is we want to be an extension of the great things that are happening in traditional school systems, and then be innovative in some of those areas that need improvement.
And do you have more flexibility in introducing innovative programs because you're a charter school than, say, a public school might?
Yes, and that's kind of why the charter schools were set up, to be innovative. Now, I'll go back to the point that we are held to the same accountability standards. So in this case, the STAR test is something that we have to ensure that our kids do well on. But outside of that, we are able to try innovative new ideas and work through things and try different things that might be effective for students.
One of the things you were telling me before we started was you're doing a lot of entrepreneurship programs with the kids, which I don't believe is a big push in the public schools. And can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, I sure can. Well, what I was speaking about is our senior project that students do. And so what they do is they explore various career options or businesses that they might like to start one day. And what they do is they do research, and they are actually required at the end of this research period to come and present to a panel. It would be business and community leaders, executives in the school system, and other teachers, and present these concepts and ideas to them. And primarily, I'll say that in that, we really still focus on the leadership and character development as it relates to possibly working as an employee or owning your own business. We want to focus on those things which are valuable to whichever endeavor they do.
I like that, because a lot of kids today, they're graduating school and have no sense of how to run a business or how to handle an employment situation, and we see so many of them failing as a result. So.
Yeah, well, and there's no magic bullet, I guess, for that. But what there is are some principles that you and I might know as people that have been experienced in the job market. We know there's some things that employers look for in quality employees: communication skills, integrity, character, honesty, those types of things. And so we feel as though if we can focus on instilling those things in our children, regardless of the decisions they make about what they do with their careers and education, they're going to be well equipped to be effective because they have those core skills that they need.
People skills.
Yes, correct.
And a lot of that's emotional intelligence. And that,
That's right.
I strongly encourage people to learn more about emotional intelligence skills. The single most important thing that determines your success is not your academic background.
Right.
It's your intellect. It's your ability to have good emotional intelligence, to talk to people,
Right.
to handle stress, to handle frustration. And one of the things I've seen in schools is a lot of the kids don't handle frustration and stress well, and that's why a lot of them end up dropping out. And what do you have in place to help the child to become more emotionally intelligent and not experience those problems?
Well, it really is basically the environment. You know, it's interesting. If I travel around our school system, we do have police officers at all of our campuses, and not necessarily because of what's going on inside the school, but what's going on outside the school.
Right.
But as I walk around, I tell them, hey, thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you're here. And they inevitably tell me, really, we don't do anything at your school. You know, these kids are well-mannered. They say yes, sir, and no, sir. They open the door for us. And I'm not painting a picture of us being a perfect school, but I'm saying the peer pressure in our school is positive. You know, if you want to come there and misbehave, well, then you will stand out like a sore thumb, and it's very noticeable if you want to do that, because the majority of the kids that are in our school system, because the demand from the school system is there, want to do the right thing.
That's wonderful. I know when I was in public school, it was the complete opposite.
Sure.
The kid that was reading and trying to perform was beat up.
Yes.
And looked down upon.
Yes.
And unfortunately, then these kids had a very short lifespan. A lot of them were dead when they were 20s.
Right.
You know,
That's
very
really sad, and it is absolutely the exact opposite at life schools.
Wonderful.
We have, pictures of kids that once they get their acceptance letters to college, and oh, by the way, we do have 100% college acceptance out of our school
Did you
systems.
hear that? 100%. How many
Yes.
students do you have?
Well, we have nearing 6,000 in our system right
and
now.
100% college acceptance.
That is correct. Now, those are not 6,000 secondary students, but that's K through 12. But
Sure.
ultimately, they all graduate, number one, and they all get accepted into college. Now, it's possible that some of those kids decide, I'm not ready to go to college right now,
Sure.
but we make sure that that's their choice and not because they're not able. We do everything we can to ensure that they've been accepted into a 2 or 4 year university before they leave our school system, and then they can decide what they do with that.
Do you help them find financial aid or scholarships?
Absolutely, and we do that personally inside the school system, but more importantly, we partner with universities around the area.
Nice.
Now, some of the major universities around are excellent partners for us, and they help us with things like that.
That's so important, because too many kids today are graduating with the kind of debt you'd have if you bought a house.
Right. Right.
So I'm
Yes.
glad to hear that. How long have charter schools been in existence?
Well, in the state of Texas, they became possible in 1995.
Okay.
And so that would be any charter school that was opened in that 95, 96 time frame is called a first generation charter school. We were opened in 1998, and we're a second generation charter school, which many of those are no longer around. So about 20 years we opened as a second generation charter school in the state of Texas.
And you're around because you're meeting the standards and you're exceeding the expectations.
You know, it's so interesting. We started the school with 266 students and 15 employees. Now we're over 600 employees and nearing 6,000
Wow.
students in the
Wow.
system. And that's a testament to the work that my predecessors have done. It's a testament to our CEO and our executive team as they have led out in the growth and development of the school.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah,
I've been in education
and should I
all
also
my life.
mention, I cannot go without telling about the teachers. You know, if you go in, the types of teachers that we have in our school system are so focused on giving what's best and teaching what's best for the student beyond just the academic value, that again makes our school system a place of choice, and parents really want to come there.
Wow. I just want to take a moment. If you could put the slide up on how to contact Life School. By the way, they do have I'll show you in a moment, a magazine that you can get which has a lot of information on it. But if you've got a youngster and you would like to see these kinds of results for them that we're hearing about, then here's the way to reach these people. You have a phone number, 469-850-LIFE. You have their website, lifeschools.net. You have a Facebook and a Twitter account as well. So, and what cities are you located in?
Well, we start primarily in Oak Cliff. We have
Oak Cliff.
a elementary, middle school, and high school there at Oak Cliff, and then traveling further south to Lancaster, Waxahachie. We have one in Cedar Hill, and then also in the Mountain Creek area as well.
Okay, so I know we reached the entire Dallas area,
Yes.
so hopefully some of these people will be listening and take an interest.
Well, and also we're looking for partners in other areas. You know, we're talking with people all over the DFW area that may potentially want to partner with us.
Other schools.
Yes, well, not just other schools, but maybe churches. You know, 2 of our schools are housed in churches where we lease the space from those churches during the week for school. And actually one of the largest elementaries in the state of Texas is one that we have, where we have just over 1,000 students at one location there in Red Oak, and that is a church partner that we have. And so what we do is we look for like-minded churches, meaning ones that want to have an impact on their community, and we will partner with them and maybe lease their space during the week in order to have school. And it's a win-win for both us. It's not a large capital outlay for us because we actually don't get facilities funding. That's one of the big differences between a charter school and a traditional school. We don't get facilities funding, and so it is helpful for us not to have a large capital outlay in building a new building, which we've done that, but it's good for us to partner, and especially if we're entering a new
area. Kids.
That's correct. That's
well,
right.
If you have a church or organization that might want to partner with them, you see the phone number on the screen. Certainly, this would be a wonderful opportunity. At least give them a call and see if it's a good fit for your church or organization. How do students enroll in an open enrollment charter school?
Yes, well, actually, you can get on onto our website. The parents can, and they can fill out an application. Yes, and all the information is also in our Life School magazine,
which is free.
Which is absolutely free. And so we take students. We're an open enrollment school, and so which means we take all students that apply that we have room for. Now, it just so happens if we don't have enough space for all of the applications that are there, well, then we do have to do a lottery to determine which kids get into the school system, which is one thing we want to do something about. We have a tremendous waiting list of just about 1,800 students right now trying to get into our school system, and what we want to do is to have more partnerships and build more space in order to provide our services.
I'll talk to you later. I have a way that you could take them right away.
Okay.
And without a space.
Excellent.
We did that in my program. I think you'll find it interesting, but we'll talk later about that.
Sure.
It's a good problem to have, that there's a lot of kids waiting online. What kind of parent might want to consider this? And one of the things I'd also like to ask is, what happens when the kid doesn't meet standards? One of the reasons people are taking these students from public schools is there's a lot of safety issues today.
Yes.
So let's say one of the kids gets in, it doesn't fit. What's done to try to make them fit? And if they don't fit, ultimately, do they have to go to a different program?
Yes, well, that's always a possibility. You know, that the only way that we could reject a student would be for some heinous act, and that's for the safety of those kids that want to be there and that want to do well. However, it takes a lot to get a kid to that point. You know, as a matter of fact, once we have a kid join our school system, we have to enroll them, and then we find out about their backgrounds. And so if we see something on their background that is what we might call a level 5, what we're going to do is we're going to meet with that student and their parents and talk to them about what's different and what's changed. Because we believe that a lot of times a child might be better off in a school system like ours to grow in character and leadership than they are being sent back out to a school system that may not be as focused on that.
Do you have counseling? Or
we do. We have an outstanding counseling staff. All of our teachers and their commitment to building kids and building their leadership and character also plays a big factor.
You can play a transformational role in some of these kids' lives that are not doing well in the conventional program.
That is correct. And you know, one thing I'll say about that, you know, there's a misconception that charter schools are just for kids like that. I will tell you that the types of things that we're teaching children works for students of low socioeconomic, at-risk backgrounds, all the way through to affluent levels, because we're teaching the things that will benefit them in their life. We say actually at Life School, it's not just school, it's life. And so we're preparing them for their life, no matter what that might look like. And we don't assume just because a kid comes from a certain background that they are having a poor time or a great time in their lives. We just want to teach them the things that are going to make them successful in life.
What kind of parents should consider sending their kids to your school then?
You know, the short answer is all parents. You know, the reality is how many parents out there want their child to have strong leadership skills, strong character? What parent out there wants to have a child learn the things in school while the stakes are very low that will propel them into their future and will allow them to walk into any setting, any environment, talk to any people group, and do well? Those parents should be the types of parents that are interested in our school system.
And folks, if you'd like to contact Charles and Life School, can you put the phone number up on the screen for a moment? There's a phone number you can call, 469-850-LIFE. So that's a good opportunity to help your child succeed, and it's a difficult world that they're coming into today.
Yes.
Maybe you could tell me a little about some of your success stories.
Yes, you know, I mentioned a little bit earlier about our graduation rates being 100% in our college acceptance. But, you know,
You didn't say your graduation rate.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yes,
100%.
And as a matter of fact, you know, someone might say, okay, well, tell me about how many kids you expel, and tell me about, you know,
True.
what types of kids those are. We're talking about the kids that come into our system, regardless of what their academic experiences are. We're talking about when they join, if coming through our system, they are prepared to graduate, and they do graduate at 100%. We've done that for several years running. And so kids that come in, they're able to be successful.
It's very impressive.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm in academics now most of my life. I started teaching when I was 21. So I've been
Wow.
doing this over 40 years myself.
Well, thank you for that, by the way.
So I'm impressed.
Yes, well, thank
And I
you.
don't say that lightly.
Well, I can appreciate that. You know, some of the other things I'll share, and some of these stories are outlined in our magazine, which is an annual magazine. But some of our greatest successes is the fact that we have approximately 15 students that are working in our school system. Kids that graduated from Life School, we've only been in existence for 20 years, and about 15 are coming back to be teachers, working in our information management department, working as aides, and various jobs within the school system because they believe so much in what they were able to get at Life School. I met with a student that has recently graduated that came back to do some intern work with us. She said to me, all I want to do is work for Life School. That's all I want to do. I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to come back here. All I want to do is work for Life School. And so those, to me, are successes. Now, I'll also share, there were about 15 or 16 students that came back several months ago and met with the entire leadership team that graduated. And they talked about the impact of Life School on their lives. We had first-generation college graduates who set some goals at Life School that were accomplishing them. We've got people that walked on to play football somewhere and had success for 4 years and came back and said, it's because of the things I learned at Life School that we're able to do that. So listening to those 15 or 16 people about how Life School impacted their life, that, to me, is some of the biggest successes that we've had.
Out of curiosity, you have any idea how many of your students that go on to college actually graduate?
Yeah, it's about 78%.
That's very high.
Right now. It is very high. It's not where we want it. We want to make sure we equip kids to finish, but there could be various reasons for them not finishing, and so we're looking into that right now. But the last time we looked at the numbers, approximately 78%.
Way above the national average. I know
Yes.
there's a 50% dropout rate in four-year college
Yes.
and a 70% dropout rate in two-year college, so 78% is phenomenal.
You know, some of that has to do with a child having the ability to take personal responsibility for themselves. You know, and in leadership and character development, a child might go into an academic environment like a university and be able to take personal responsibility for getting up and going to class, for doing homework and doing those things that require responsibility, leadership, and character. We feel as though if we focus on those things, there's a higher likelihood, as evidenced by the numbers, that they're going to be successful in college or whatever they decide to do.
Well, what are some of the academic results that you're realizing?
Yeah, well, primarily it is about those graduation rates and the college acceptance there. But also, we're doing some things beyond that with corporations and universities. Number one is we're working with corporations and letting them know about what we're trying to do in leadership and character development of our students and giving these corporations an opportunity to hire them.
Nice.
To come in. In some cases, there's a manufacturing company that we're working with that they're not hiring kids to come into the manufacturing floor, but they're hiring kids to come in to go to their leadership programs and potentially be national leaders for them because they understand what they're being taught in the school system. And so for us, those are some great academic successes as well.
Okay. real briefly, what plans do you have for the future?
Growth. You know, we are not trying to grow for the sake of growth. We're trying to grow because of what we do works.
Could be around the country?
Absolutely, it can be.
Because a lot of the people watching today are in Alabama and some other states. And again, if you'd like to reach Life School,
yes.
Let's put the number up again for a moment. 469-850-LIFE. Remember, if you have a church or an organization, that would be a sweet spot for them.
Yes.
But any group that's interested in working with youngsters and helping make their lives better would be a perfect fit for Life School. So before we finish, what would you like to share with our viewers today?
Well, we ultimately are trying to broaden the worldview of our students. We're trying to show them all the tremendous opportunities that the United States of America has to offer them. And we want to encourage them and give them the confidence that they need to go out and tackle things and to try things and experience things that they wouldn't otherwise do because of where they live or where they go to school. And so we're looking for more partners, is what I'd say. So call us. Talk to us, whether you're a corporation, university, individual, a donor. And we want to talk to you more about doing the things that we're doing.
Phenomenal. And you're doing such an amazing job. This is exactly what's needed. We need more schools like this today. Too many of our kids are falling through the cracks. As I said, I taught for many years, and I saw so many kids that had potential wind up losing. It was very, very depressing as a teacher who cared about people to watch kids fail like that.
Yes, for sure.
Well, one of the ways you could help your student succeed is to go to my website, which is HBerg, here we go, HBspeedreading.com. And here you have the opportunity to get my reading, writing, learning programs, to help your kids succeed, help you succeed at work, and if you're a senior, stay mentally fit as you get older. And as always, I'm open to having a free consultation with your company or a family to help you and your family learn and use information better. That's my cell phone, 214-952-9150. If you text or call me, I'll do my best to set up a time that we can get together and I can find out what kind of problems you're experiencing and make some suggestions on how to fix it. You could also email me at mrreader@msn.com. And when you do, I will make sure that everything that I know is put at your disposal. I also was a teacher for many years, and one of the reasons I invited Charles is I believe very strongly in what their program is doing. I've seen the failure of the system firsthand. I saw a student who couldn't read and offered to help him, and the guidance people said, as long as we're getting paid, we don't have to help him. He'll be thrown out in 6 months, and we're making money. Don't worry about it. That's not what school's about. School's about kids. It's about learning. And so I'm here to help you. If you have a question about learning you'd like to see on the show, if you'd like to be part of the show, let me know at mrreader@msn.com. This show is about you and not about me. I want to thank Charles for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to seeing you in the next show. Until then, this is HBerg, the world's fastest reader, wishing you and yours the best of success.
The truth sets you free. With the world's fastest reader, HBerg.